This week's video is all about slicing, vertical or otherwise. It is time to strike while the iron is at absolute zero and talk about motion controls and their relationship with the Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. Because this is extremely old news at this point, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I do want to make it clear where I'm coming from with this video before I get to my main point. I think the motion controls were detrimental to Skyward Sword. Not a revolutionary stance, I know. I think the focus on motion led to a lot of unnecessary gimmicks, and also made for the weakest lineup of tools for puzzle solving in a 3D Zelda game, period. The fact that the controls were unreliable was icing on the cake, having to resynchronize the remote often since it was prone to going completely out of whack. But that's probably all stuff you've heard by now. Something else you might have heard, even among the harshest Skyward Sword critics, is that the motion-controlled combat, when it worked, was actually pretty good. What I hear a lot about is how it breathes life into the combat of Zelda by being more involved. Admittedly, Zelda games aren't exactly known for having the deepest combat systems, but I still have to disagree. I don't think there's that much to Skyward Sword's combat at all. So here's the premise of fighting in Skyward Sword if you didn't know. You have a motion-controlled sword that people describe as being one-to-one, but really you can slash in 8 directions and do a thrust attack. Your enemy has a sword or sword-related weapon, or failing that, something that will prevent you from attacking from a certain angle. You have to hit them while they try to guard against your attacks. As the game progresses, you'll encounter things like enemies with electric weapons that punish you for hitting the weapon instead of them. Functionally, what the system boils down to is an enemy will approach Link, dance around a little bit, and then hold out their weapon in a specific direction to block. This really serves as an indicator of where to swing your Wiimote. If an enemy points to the right of the screen, the most optimal direction to swing is to the right, since then even if your Wiimote misreads your movement, it'll still be on the opposite side of the weapon, so it won't be blocked. So it's simply the safest option. So, does an on-screen indicator and following instructions remind you of anything else? That's all Skyward Sword is, a 40-hour game of Simon. The enemy point, and you swing. The difference is that's as complex as it gets. The same fight straight up to the end. But the purpose of games like Simon is to memorize increasingly long patterns. Skyward Sword never gets more complex than following a single on-screen prompt. The other way to look at it is that Nintendo found a way to make the entire game's combat into QuickTime events. Imagine if every time you locked onto an enemy in Zelda, one of 9 buttons showed up for you to press, instead of having 9 directions that you can slash. Suddenly it doesn't seem so exciting. That's my piece said and done. I have never seen what people found so special about Skyward Sword's combat. I'll take simple basics over a never-ending game of Simon Says, but that's just me. Maybe there's more to it I just can't see.